Most stories, they end with a big world-changing event. But the real question, and the one we're going to dig into today, is this. What does faith actually look like after it's all supposed to be over?
Seriously, think about it. The massive, history-altering moment has just happened. The crowds are gone. What do you do the next day? Well, this is the exact spot two of Jesus' disciples find themselves in right after the crucifixion and resurrection.
So let's get into it. We're drawing from a really insightful sermon by Pastor Shindong Yen that breaks down the biblical story of the road to Emmaus. It's such a key passage for understanding how belief can take root, especially when you're surrounded by chaos and confusion. Okay, so our story kicks off on the day of the resurrection. But here's the twist. We don't start with a celebration. We start with two disciples walking away from Jerusalem, away from the very center of everything that just happened. So why? Why were they leaving? This slide just nails their mindset. On one side, you have this massive, incredible hope they had pinned on Jesus. And on the other, the cold, hard reality. He was executed. Their hope was just gone. And all they could do was walk away completely sad and bewildered. And here's the thing. They have all the facts. They know he was a prophet. They know he was killed. And get this. They've heard these incredible reports about an empty tomb, about angels saying he's alive. But it all comes down to that last brutal line. But him they did not see. All these pieces of information, they just haven't added up to actual belief for them yet.
So there they are, walking down this road to a village called Emmaus, just going over and over all these confusing events. And then a stranger comes up and just starts walking with them. But there's a catch.
And this is a detail the sermon really zeroes in on. The person who is the very subject of their heartbreak, the reason for their entire conversation, is literally walking right next to them. And they can't see it. They just don't recognize him. Now, the irony here is just incredible. The stranger asks them what they're so sad about, and they basically ask him, "Are you the only person in town who has no idea what just went down?" They're saying this to the one person at the absolute center of it all. So how does this stranger, who we know is Jesus, start to change their perspective? Well, it's not with some big, flashy miracle. It's with a lesson. A really, really deep one. He just gets right to the core of their issue. It's not that they don't have enough information, they're swimming in it. Their problem, he says, is that they're slow of heart. They're not connecting the dots between what just happened and the bigger story they were supposed to already know from their own scriptures. And that's exactly what he does next. He essentially gives them a master class right there on the road. He starts with Moses, goes through all the prophets, and explains how the entire story of the scriptures was pointing to him, to everything he just went through. He's giving them the intellectual key they were missing. Okay, so they've just had this mind-blowing Bible study. The intellectual light bulb is on. But the sermon makes a powerful point here. For true recognition, for that genuine aha moment, it takes something more, something personal. And this sequence of events is just everything. They get to their destination, and instead of saying goodbye, they invite the stranger to stay. It's a simple act of hospitality, of breaking bread together, that sets the stage. And as he takes the bread, blesses it, and breaks it, everything changes. And boom, it happens. The very instant their eyes are opened and they finally see who he is, he's gone. He vanishes. He doesn't hang around to explain more. The moment of recognition is the point. He leaves them with the power of that experience. This single, fleeting moment of recognition completely transforms them. And this is where we get to the sermon's main takeaway about what real faith looks like. It's like suddenly it all makes sense. They look back at the walk and say to each other, "Weren't our hearts burning inside us?" That feeling they had, it wasn't just an interesting lecture. The intellectual lesson had already lit a fire. That personal moment at the table was the spark that made it ignite. I mean, look at this reversal. It is a total 180. They go from being these sad, downcast guys walking away from the story to being passionate messengers, literally running back to it. They're not just kicking around rumors anymore. Now they have a testimony. And this is what the sermon calls post-resurrection faith. It's that critical shift from hearsay to testimony. It's when an external event that you only heard about becomes an internal, personal experience that actually moves you, that makes you act. So you can really see this journey in 3 stages. They start with hearsay, just reports from other people. Then they get understanding on the road, that intellectual framework. But it all culminates in experience, that personal revelation at the table that changes absolutely everything.
The story of the road to Emmaus gives us this powerful blueprint for how knowledge can become real, lived-in belief. And it leaves us with a pretty big question to think about for ourselves. Where does all the information we gather actually end? And where does our own personal revelation truly begin?